People always say love can survive anything. But no one tells you what to do when the person you love forgets who you are. My name is Ryan Callahan, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had it all figured out. I'm a 36-year-old architect from Asheville, North Carolina. I live in a 2-story brick house on a quiet street lined with maple trees. My wife, Emily, used to say our house looked like something out of a Hallmark movie. Warm lights, white fence, flowers on the porch. We met 8 years ago at a small art show downtown. She was a freelance illustrator, sitting by a table sketching portraits of strangers for $10 apiece. I sat down for one, mostly as an excuse to talk to her. She drew me smiling, which was strange, because I wasn't smiling. But when I asked her why, she said, "Because I can tell that's what your face looks like when you stop pretending." That line, it hit me like lightning. We got married 2 years later. Our wedding was small, 30 people, backyard lights, a cheap speaker playing Yellow by Coldplay because it was our song. We weren't perfect, but we were happy. At least, I thought we were. It was a Sunday night in October, the kind of night where the rain sounds like a heartbeat against the windows. Emily and I had gone out for dinner at our favorite diner, the Magnolia Grill. We argued a little about nothing important, whether we should visit her parents for Thanksgiving or stay home. On the drive back, she was laughing at something I said when a truck ran a red light. The sound of metal and glass colliding, it still plays in my head sometimes when the world goes quiet. I remember waking up in the hospital with stitches in my arm, ribs wrapped in bandages. But Emily was in the ICU. Head trauma. Swelling. They said the word coma, and my world just stopped. I sat by her side for 12 days, reading her favorite books, playing her favorite songs. The nurses said patients can sometimes hear voices when they're unconscious, so I kept talking to her. On the 12th day, she opened her eyes. And for a moment, it felt like I could breathe again. Until she looked at me and asked, "Who are you?" The doctors explained it gently: retrograde amnesia caused by trauma. She remembered her childhood, her college years, even her old apartment. But everything from the last 7 years, gone. Including me. They said the brain sometimes protects itself by blocking recent memories after trauma. They also said there was no guarantee they'd ever return. I tried not to panic. I told myself love was stronger than memory, that I could help her remember. But when she looked at me, it wasn't the look of a woman seeing her husband. It was the look of a stranger trying to be polite. The first week home was unbearable. I moved her back into our house, but she didn't recognize a thing. She didn't remember painting the kitchen walls blue, or the old bookshelf we built together. I'd wake up early to make her favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, only to watch her push the plate away and say, "Sorry, I'm not really a pancake person." She used to love pancakes. At night, I'd sit on the edge of the bed, hoping she'd fall asleep beside me like before. But she always asked to sleep in the guest room. I didn't argue. Some nights, I'd hear her crying quietly, and I'd want to go to her, to tell her it was okay, that she was safe. But I didn't. Because in her mind, I was just some man who wouldn't leave her alone. One afternoon, I found her sitting on the porch, flipping through old photo albums. She pointed at a picture of her standing with a man, her ex-fiancé, Michael. "Do you know him?" she asked. I felt my chest tighten. "Yeah," I said quietly. "You used to." She told me that she still remembered being with him, their engagement, their apartment in Raleigh, even the fight that ended it. But in her mind, it had just happened a few months ago. I realized then that she was emotionally still living in that time, before she'd ever met me. And that maybe, to her, I was the intruder. I tried everything. I recreated our first date, the art show, the music, even the same kind of sketchpad she used. She smiled politely but said it all felt forced. I brought her to our favorite diner. She said the food was good but didn't understand why I kept staring at her like I was waiting for something. Eventually, she stopped trying. She told me, "Ryan, you seem like a wonderful man. But I can't feel something I don't remember. I'm sorry." That night, I packed a small bag and went to stay at my brother's place. Because sometimes loving someone means giving them space, even if it breaks you. Months passed. I went back to work. Built things that didn't talk back, office buildings, homes for other families. But every time I walked past a flower shop or heard Coldplay on the radio, something inside me cracked. Friends told me to move on, that she might never remember. But how do you move on when half your soul is walking around not knowing your name? One day, I got a call from her sister. Emily had started teaching art again at a community center, apparently something she used to do before we met. I went once, just to watch from a distance. She was standing by a canvas, laughing with kids, paint on her hands. She looked happy. I wanted to walk up to her, to say something, anything. But I didn't, because maybe that happiness didn't need me anymore. It was exactly 1 year after the accident when I got the call. A storm had hit the city, power lines down, streets flooded. Emily's sister said she'd been in another accident, minor this time, but she was at the hospital for observation. I rushed there, heart in my throat, terrified history was repeating itself. When I walked into her room, she looked up at me, eyes glassy from medication, and whispered, "Ryan." I froze. She said my name again. "You're Ryan, my husband." The doctors said it was possible the trauma had somehow unlocked old memory pathways, that she might not remember everything yet, but something had shifted. I didn't care about the science. All I knew was that the woman who'd once looked at me like a stranger now looked at me like home. Recovery wasn't magic. It wasn't like the movies where everything snaps back perfectly. Some memories came in flashes, a smell, a sound, a song. Sometimes she'd get frustrated and cry when she couldn't piece it together. But she tried. And that was enough. We'd sit for hours going through photo albums. She'd point at pictures and ask me to tell her the stories again. Our trip to Maine, our first Christmas, the time we got lost hiking and ended up camping under the stars. She said hearing me describe them made her feel like she was there, even if her mind couldn't prove it. One night, she looked at me and said, "Maybe I don't remember everything, Ryan, but when I look at you, I feel like I should." That was the first time I allowed myself to believe she might find her way back. Months later, when things were better, I found a letter tucked inside an old journal. It was written in her handwriting, dated 2 months before the accident. It said, "Ryan, if anything ever happens to me, I want you to remember this. You made me feel seen when I didn't even see myself. You made me believe in forever." I never told her about that letter. I didn't need to. She was already beginning to write new ones. In the way she looked at me, touched my hand, laughed again. On the anniversary of our first wedding, I took her back to the backyard, the same spot where we'd said our vows years ago. This time, There were no guests, no music. Just us. She asked me, "Do you think we should renew our vows?" I smiled and said, "I think we should write new ones." We stood there under the string lights and said what we both needed to hear. That love isn't defined by memory or time. That even if we lose everything again tomorrow, we'll still find our way back. Because love, real love, doesn't vanish. It waits. A year later, she's back to teaching, and I still design buildings. We're not the same couple we used to be, and maybe that's okay. Sometimes she remembers small things out of nowhere, a restaurant, a joke, the name of the street where we first kissed. Sometimes she doesn't. But every time she forgets, I remind her. And every time she remembers, I fall in love all over again. Last week, we were walking downtown when she stopped in front of a street artist sketching portraits. She turned to me and said, "Let's get one." We sat down, and when the artist showed us the sketch, I saw it. She'd drawn us both smiling. I laughed and said, "You know, someone once drew me like that years ago." Emily looked at me, eyes soft, and whispered, "Yeah, I think that was me." And in that moment, I realized, even if her memories fade, her heart never really forgot. They say love is about finding the right person. But maybe it's also about choosing them over and over, even when they forget you. I used to think our story ended the day she forgot who I was. Now I know. That was just the day it began again.